I'm super excited to be here. In fact, I'm so excited that I'm wearing my Code for America shirt because I try to help them where I can. It says, the we the people, James Madison's speech in binary, support Code for America. I'm hoping that there'll be some Canadian participation in Code for America in the near future. So this is me. My name is David Eaves. I'm a citizen, I'm a blogger, and activist. A little over a year ago, I helped the city of Vancouver draft and work through some of the issues around this motion, which is what we call Open 3, or the open motion, which calls for open data, the use of open standards wherever possible, and thinking kind of more about open source and how it fits into the city's procurement cycle. And very, very shortly after, within 3 months, a huge testament to the city staff. They had this up and running, which is a beta version of the open portal where you could download data. And what I want to do is first share with you some things that have happened, and then also what I think is going on and where things might be going, and some lessons that might be applicable. So the first thing were some things that were useful. So the first is what you're looking at is a PDF or a printout of the garbage schedule that you get at the beginning of every year in Vancouver. The interesting thing about us is that our garbage day changes every month because when there's a statutory holiday, everything slides over. So obviously people forget. And so we said, wouldn't it be great if we had open data, we could change this? And two coders, Luke Kloss, Kevin Jones, did just that. They created vantrash.ca. It maps the garbage zones on the city. You go, you click, it tells you, oh, this is your garbage zone, this is where you live, or you put in your address. You can download for the first time ever your calendar into your iPhone, into Microsoft Outlook, whatever you want. And on top of that, if you want, they'll send you an email reminder or a Twitter reminder at the hour of your choosing the day before your garbage gets picked up. So all of a sudden, garbage, no longer a problem. This, for me, is the most important lesson of Gov 2.0. I believe in the democracy data and transparency, but if you really want to capture citizens' attention, you make their life just a little bit easier. And that's what Vantrash did. The moment Vantrash happened, everybody got it. This, for me, was the big, kind of what we used to call the Pepto-Bismol turning point. You no longer felt ill in the stomach. You knew everything was going to be easy. Other interesting thing happening in Vancouver, some businesses starting up. This is parking mobility. It's a guy who is having people with disabled issues crowdsource the location of disabled parking spots because most of them are on private land. They're mandated there, so nobody knows where they are. So now you find where they all are. On top of that, he's partnering with cities so that people, if they come into a parking space that's actually occupied, they can take a picture of that parking space that's been illegally occupied, send that picture to City Hall, and City Hall can issue a ticket, creates revenue for City Hall, and ensures that disability laws are actually being enforced. So and beyond that, we found some things that were more experimental. Microsoft backed a team at a local university/college, and they created something called Taxi City, which took open data from the city catalog and created kind of a city, almost like a Grand Theft Auto taxi driver racing thing, where you see those Bing maps in the lower left-hand corner that you're actually using to navigate yourself. But the blue buildings that you're seeing on there are actually actual buildings pulled from the open data portal. All of the data from that, the kind of C outlines, so the taxi stayed on track, were all there. And they also sponsored an app competition. So we saw some big companies getting involved, but the most kind of interesting thing for me was the kind of real grassroots stuff. This is a guy who created a 3D model of the entire city so that he could show how new buildings would affect view lines. Here's some students out at UBC who created 14 different mashups to show how graffiti was impacting different parts of the city. These are university students in undergraduate using real data to write their projects. A local architecture firm had a nonprofit arm. They began to look at what rising sea levels would look like for Vancouver and are writing a peer review study that I can't show you the study right now because it hasn't actually finished peer review, but already helping City Council plan what climate change impacts might be on Vancouver. We're reaching into what I've been calling the long tail of public policy, where we're going beyond the experts, we're getting into architects, we're getting into data geeks, going further and further and finding kind of interesting things. So what do you need to know? Well, the first thing you need to know, as the previous speaker said, is you got to friend the lawyers. Someone had a great session called Friend the Lawyers at the Gov 2.0 Expo. You absolutely need to do this because in Vancouver, that was the biggest obstacle. It wasn't technical, it was the lawyers, but once we got it right, everybody took our terms of use and started to copy it. And it's begun to influence other jurisdictions. The province, our states have begun to do it. The federal government's begun to think about this stuff. Still very early days. Also, we focus on the community. This slide I'm actually most proud of. It's a Google group of Vancouver Open Data. It was created after I gave a talk to a bunch of developers. The city lurked on this for about a year, and now they come here and they actually just come out and ask questions. Do you like this data? Is this site usable? Can we do something else? We're having this problem getting data open. So they're actually engaged with the community on these types of issues. All sorts of interesting shifts taking place within the public service, but I think ultimately none of this is yet good enough. And here's the thing that I'm really feeling challenged about with open data. Right now, most people seem to be satisfied if we get apps. I've been saying apps are only part of it. I want citizens engaged, doing analysis, engaged in public policy debates, using open data. But these two alone are not sufficient as a metric. I know that open data will be successful in Vancouver and around the world when We have internal applications being built by the city, being built on open data platforms. And more importantly, I know we're going to be successful when we finally separate data from vendor and proprietary software packages, and so that we actually have vendors who are building applications right off the data on open data portals. This is the real metric success that I think we have to begin to turn to. So thank you so much for listening to me. My name is David Eaves. I'm DA Eaves on Twitter. Eaves.ca is my blog. I look forward to talking to you guys. Take care.